Gaming could be set to see some increased innovation and competition in the PC space, but that also comes with yet more exclusives. Let's chat about it in the comments below, but first, my opinion. I'm Tarmack, and this is Feature Creep. Valve has been the king of the PC video game space for a pretty significant amount of time now. While it may not meet the technical definition of a monopoly, it certainly meets a more practical definition in the same vein. Steam represents the vast majority of PC gamers, and quite simply, developers avoiding Steam is a mistake for the most part, unless of course you're okay with a smaller potential audience, whether through lack of information or perhaps exclusivity demanded elsewhere. Now, there are certainly other platforms on the market that you can sell your games on. Origin, Uplay, the Windows Store are the most notable high-budget locations, with places like itch, Humble, and GOG bringing up the rear as accessible places for smaller developers. Of note, however, is what appears to be at first glance a new entrant into the marketplace. When Amazon bought Twitch TV, we very quickly saw the addition of bonuses for gamers who happened to be subscribed to Amazon Prime. Gamers got a free subscription to their favorite streamer every month, doled out as they see fit, but they also started to get a drip feed of content for games. This drip feed began with items outside of Twitch itself with a code for Tyrande and Hearthstone, but rather rapidly turned inward with the release of the Twitch launcher. That inward turn included a game called Streamline, which is a live stream purpose-built game that you can play with viewers, and then with your Twitch account able to be linked to other services for skins and other in-game items for titles like Watch Dogs 2 or, most recently, For Honor. The Twitch client itself is extremely bare bones right now, but we've had full game releases for This War of Mine, Heavy Bullets, and the Banner Saga as games that can be installed directly from the launcher. It's pretty clear, unless I'm completely off my rocker, that Amazon picked up Twitch as a point of entry into the gaming market and not just as a shiny, hopeful, profitable entity on its own. Twitch Prime is only the tip of the iceberg, as we've seen inclusions such as the Lumberyard game engine and also a fancy patent filing for a new game client as well. Now, I'm going to make a possibly controversial claim. I think the complaints about having too many game clients, Steam, Uplay, Origin, and such, is utter nonsense. Sure, it's a wee bit inconvenient to have to remember which game client has which games in the library, but this is at worst a minor inconvenience. We're at the stage with standard multi-core processors and low-cost RAM that even with multiple clients running at the same time, which you could easily disable if you want to, system performance is hardly compromised. I think that the argument for the simplicity of just let Steam have a monopoly because I only need one client is short-sighted at best. Really? You'd rather we didn't have competition via multiple storefronts or clients because the contrary is simply easier? It's also more expensive, restrictive, stifles innovation, and has far fewer consumer-friendly outcomes like, say, a good return policy, something Origin still does better than Steam. So back to that patent I mentioned. Amazon's patent filing, made in June 2015, over a year prior to buying Twitch.tv, was published in January this year, giving us a window into the future of what Amazon is working on for the gaming public. The client appears to be heavily focused on the existing Twitch model, allowing users to spectate live stream games, join live game sessions, start new sessions, and even buy in-game materials directly through the live stream feed. It also includes a reward mechanic where participant actions of a variety of types can result in the participant getting a reward of some kind, acting as a more robust method of similar systems like getting items for watching Dota 2 live events, but at what appears to be a more micro level. The live stream functionality also includes replay and other such normal features, as restricting certain content types to certain tiers of viewer, not all that different from subscriber-only VOD content. Effectively, what we're talking about here is a client that replaces the need to go to a website to watch live streaming because it has all of the features of live streaming sites and more. A Twitch client, you could say. Now, one of the really interesting concepts of the patent, and why I mentioned innovation related to competition, is the possibility of a ghosting mode. By ghosting, we don't mean stream sniping or anything like that, but rather the game being streamed is actually part of the game client, such that a viewer can jump into the same game and play against a streamer's past game session like you would against a track ghost in a game like Mario Kart. Think of it as kind of an enhanced save game system where aspects of your own gameplay could be experienced by others, not just from a visual representation via stream, but actually in-game. And from the patent filing, this kind of thing could actually be a live feature, not just on replays. That's a pretty cool next-gen concept. Why do I bring that up in a conversation about competition in game clients? Well, frankly, it's because Valve has decided that Steam is first and foremost a storefront and must remain first and foremost a storefront. So if you were going to compete with Steam, you would need to innovate and turn on the burner sitting under Valve's ass in order to snag a section of the market. One of the other, and possibly the biggest interesting item of note in the patent filing, is the line, quote, broadcast content may include user interface elements via which spectators can order, purchase, or otherwise obtain demo or full versions of games, end quote. This is where the greater game media community focused, as it sounds very similar to systems like Steam, Origin, and Uplay, just with an added spectator bent. You have to be really cautious with patents because at the end of the day, it's just an idea on a page, not an actual product right now. But what the Amazon patent filing essentially represents is an evolution of video game distribution. It's a one-stop shop for buying and watching video games online, and it comes with revolutionary features like the Ghost Mode mentioned that really integrates game streaming back into game playing. These are items that Valve very likely has no interest in, but has also given no indication that any evolution of Steam is actually in the pipeline. And what we're talking about here with Amazon getting into the gaming space is a company that has a market cap an order of magnitude larger than Electronic Arts. And while it's estimated that Valve is worth more than even EA at this stage, how much is an item of debate. Historically, we've had numerous arguments back and forth about who is capable of competing with Steam. Where it comes to resources, Sony is utterly overshadowed by Amazon, and while Microsoft certainly maintains a larger overall value than Amazon does, they have focused on what thus far has been a ham-fisted approach to the PC market, restricting things not just to a store, but also an entirely new format that still has significant problems. Amazon has the funds to do this. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on your perspective, we've also had some news that Amazon is looking to build exclusive content. Though, if you're building a game viewing client that allows viewers to play with streamers, chances are you'll want games compatible with that game client, and they also probably won't work with traditional distribution methods. John Smedley of Sony Online Entertainment and most recently Daybreak Studios fame is now going to be heading up a newly launched studio in San Diego owned by Amazon. Smedley is hardly the kind of king of the castle you want if you're after completed games, at least recently with H1Z1 under his leadership stagnating in early access and a failed startup studio even after he left Daybreak as CEO, but he certainly does like to at least attempt to trailblaze a bit. So, putting him in charge of a new Amazon studio with Amazon oversight alongside a patent filing being published for a very, very new kind of game client is certainly an interesting proposition. I believe that the idea that Amazon may be positioning themselves not just to try to take on Steam, but also evolve what online distribution looks like and how it works is actually a pretty neat possibility. There will inevitably be microtransactions, online-only nonsense, and other drivel along the way to fight, but we'll also see increased competition, and that is one thing that Valve sorely needs. To date, through not just the open admission in interviews with Valve devs, but also the trading card nonsense, marketplace mechanics in CSGO encouraging gambling by young players, and all manner of other changes, that they measure success by money. Well, so does Amazon, having inserted Jeff Bezos into the top 10 richest people on the planet. And the beauty of competition is that gamers win in the end, so long as both Amazon and Valve are constantly having to snipe at each other to try to keep that edge. Maybe, just maybe, with Amazon looking at the PC market outside of just owning Twitch.tv, we'll start to see better, more competitive pricing, especially in other markets like you poor Australians. Maybe we'll see Steam have to enact a better refund system. Maybe we'll see new opportunities for game developers who are looking to make a name for themselves by supporting gameplay features that Steam simply doesn't have a mechanism to support. The only concern that I have is that the more integrated online gets, the harder game archiving gets, the less we own our games as products to use. Yes, I'm aware that we all agree to a license, but there's a difference between owning an intellectual property and owning a product to use. Personally, I think that the license to use model would get struck down for most games that don't garner significant value from the online services provided by game devs, but that's another topic for another video. At the end of the day, there is no scenario in the video game industry right now where more competition is a bad thing. Yeah, it might mean that you have to have more clients installed on your computer, and if making a couple extra clicks to get a game up and running isn't worth far superior consumer protections, better prices, better features, and more innovation, well, you might just be lazy. What do you think about the idea of widening the competition ceiling in the games industry, especially with some of the nifty stuff Amazon has in their patent, which I've linked in the description? I understand the preference for a single client solution, but sometimes added complexity adds value. Let's chat about it down in the comments. Feature Creep is brought to you free of YouTube ads, courtesy of Patreon backers, because they're awesome and deserve a cookie. I don't use Snapchat, Instagram, Tumblr, Pinterest, or Classmates.com, so you may as well subscribe here to keep up with Feature Creep and the other videos I make. Thanks for watching. That's all I have to say. Tarmack out.